Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world today. My name is Sharon Florentine. Welcome to today's webinar, Alert to Resolved, or How to Enjoy Dinner While Still on Call, brought to you by Runbook and PagerDuty. We have an awesome webinar for you today, but before we get started, I need to go through my usual housekeeping items with you. Just a reminder that the session is being recorded, so if you miss any or all of it, you'll be able to go back and watch it again. We will send you an email with instructions for how to access the webinar on demand, so keep an eye on your inbox for that. We are taking questions throughout the presentation, so do not wait, do not hesitate. Send your questions in using the Q&A tab there on your console, and we'll try and get to as many as we can at the end of the presentation. The slides are available for you as a download. You can access those through the Handouts tab on your console, so go ahead and pull those down. You can follow along, or you can just wait and listen as our awesome presenter today, Keith Hudgens. He's a Runbook customer success professional at PagerDuty. He's going to talk you through everything you need to know about Alert to Resolved. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Keith. I'm going to turn my microphone off and my camera and let Keith take it away.
So, hi everybody. My name is Keith Hudgens. As Sharon just let everybody know, I am a customer success manager at PagerDuty. I work on the Runbook team, and I've been working in the system administration, DevOps, and automation space for about 20 years. I've kind of done a little bit of everything. I've led web development teams. I have written bare metal deployment systems for public clouds, all the way up to just basically being on call for about 12 years straight. So I know a little bit about how to manage your operational systems and how to make life a whole lot easier for the people who have to be on call. It's a lot better these days than it used to be, but we can make it even better than that. So let's get started. Will help if I click on the right thing. So we basically have a scenario that we're going to be presenting, that we're using as a frame to talk about concepts, and then we'll set up the scenario. And then we're going to dive into some strategies. So please allow me to introduce you to Alice. Alice is an engineer that works on the ops team for her employer. And she happens to be scheduled to have a night out with some friends. She wants to go out to dinner. And the problem is she's on call. So what's going to happen? What are we going to do to help Alice make sure that she can have a good evening with her friends while still making sure that everything is going on? So if we have a hero, we've got to have a villain. This is Alice's database server. It runs databases for legacy applications. This is an application stack that has a very high SLA because they serve a manufacturing line. And this manufacturing line is working in 2 shifts. The second shift is right in the middle of Alice's dinner reservations, and this database server is sadly covering some legacy applications so that it is a single point of failure. This database server tends to fall over every now and then, often for the same reasons, because it's legacy. They kind of know the failure modes and they know what's going on. So every now and then this thing will just fall over, and it needs somebody to log in, kick it in the head, and do the right things to get the database and the manufacturing line back up and running. So what's going to happen to Alice? Is she going to get paged, or does she get to enjoy time with her friends? We all know this is a demo scenario. We all know that this is going to have that there's going to be a problem, and she's gonna have to fix something in the middle of dinner. That's how these scenarios go. You guys have been down these roads before, and so let's talk about how we avoid massive problems for folks who are on these on-call shifts. So This is a silly thing, but I really like it. We have at Rundeck, we like to say that we like to turn mean time to resolution into nice time to resolution. By do it, but the question is, how do we do that, right? What we want people to focus on is automation. Rundeck is an automation tool, so obviously we want people to automate things, but we also want to talk about a strategy for how you approach your automation. If you have not gone down the road of automating a lot of your operational tooling yet, and you don't know where to start, that's basically the meat and potatoes of this particular webinar. Is how to do those things, how to approach, not specifically the bolts and nuts of automating things, but the strategy of how to plan for your automation journey. So there's a couple of really kind of quick bullet points here, and we'll dive deeper into those as we go on. But basically, you start with the easy things, the things that you know how to do, that you already have assets laying around your toolboxes. And then as you develop an understanding of both the automation process and better understanding of the failure modes and the and the workflows and data flows of the systems that you're running, once you develop a better understanding of those things, which you will do as you go down the automation journey, you'll have to, then you can add harder things and automate things that you didn't even believe were possible at the beginning. But the key thing, the biggest takeaway that I want everybody to know, is to use as much of the existing knowledge and tools in your team as you can. Don't think, oh, we're just going to buy Rundeck and bolt it on and everything's going to be great. So like, Rundeck is great, and there's a reason I picked this company to work for, because I love the product. But Rundeck uses the existing tools that you already use for a reason. You already know how to use them, so your team is going to be more efficient. They're going to be more comfortable. They're going to be more confident with the tools and the procedures that they already know. And there is no magic bolt-on fix for automation. You have to do the work. But we're going to talk about kind of an approach in the next couple of slides to basically ease everybody's way into things. And you may already be several steps into this journey, and that's fantastic. Hopefully you can take away some extra bonus tidbits as we go. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about is our crawl, walk, run graph. This is one of my favorite graphics that we've come up with, and because it basically gives you a really good idea of how to gauge the value of the things that you're automating. So in a lot of situations, ops teams are basically running with really, really thin soles in their shoes because they're running so much. You don't have a lot of time to bolt automation on, because you're too busy doing the day-to-day tasks of keeping the lights on. So what you want to do at the very beginning of your automation journey is you want to find these low-hanging fruit things, the ones that are very, very, very easy to automate and to implement. And then and the way you pick them is you look on this on the bottom slide of things, from simple to sophisticated, on that particular axis. You want to look at tasks on the left-hand side of this. You want to look for your simple tasks that have big impacts. So the things that you do on a repeated basis that take a lot of time, or you happen so often that you're having a context switch between forward-looking engineering and just keeping the lights on, and you're having to change gears and do these keeping the lights on tasks so often, the things that either happen really, really often or take a lot of time to implement, those are the ones you want to do first. And the reason you want to do that is that all of this context switching that you're doing, or all of the time it takes to run these scripted plays that you have on hand, by automating things, you're taking minutes to sometimes hours out of your engineering staff's day, and giving them back free time that they can use to look at forward-looking things, to either new version rollouts, adding new tools, adding new visibility, like metric tools for better visibility, all of these kinds of things that everybody wants, but nobody has time to do. You want to take all of these routine tasks and hit the easy things with a big impact first, so that you can kind of get a snowball effect going forward. And so this slide is just one of my favorites for talking about strategy on this, because it really helps you visualize the types of things and how to do it. If you can think about the tasks that you do in these two axes, from simple to sophisticated types of automation. The simple automations are really quick and easy to develop, versus how much impact they're going to have. So those are the things to pay attention to when you're moving forward. So what we want you to do is we want you to approach your automation goals step by step. Don't try to boil the ocean. Don't try to automate your biggest, baddest, most complex tasks first. Start with the simple things. And so the first step is actually not even to automate, but to figure out what you're going to automate. Identify the things that you need to. And we call this Runbook Automation. If you've been running ops for quite a long time, you may already have a runbook. It's kind of an old school way of managing your ops team. If you have known failure modes or known maintenance procedures that you have to do on a regular basis, the old way of doing things is for each system that you were running, you would actually have a folder, a 3-ring binder, and you would have engineers work on procedures to sort out these problems or to perform these tasks, and you would print them out and put them in your 3-ring binder. And so whenever your ops engineers would need to perform a thing, they would go look in the 3-ring binder and pull out the pages that they needed, and go follow that script. And when I say that script, I'm literally talking about like a movie script, like words on a page, right? And that's a runbook. So Runbook Automation is taking these existing pages that you already have in your runbook and automating them, finding a way to make those scripts happen, and turn like page printed scripts into code scripts so that they can go a lot faster. And so the first step is to identify these tasks. If you already have a runbook, then you can take a look at the impact axis of the chart that we just talked about. But if you don't have a runbook, you may want to consider starting one. And if not, look at the procedures that you're already doing and start like making, do like a Kanban board of these tasks that you do. So step 2 is human initiated automation. This is when we actually start automating. So we don't start with automating at the beginning, we start with our planning. Well, we're engineers, we need to engineer our automation process. So what we do now is we start actually implementing processes. And in this case, what we do is we write those scripts. We make sure that everybody on the team that needs access to them has access to those scripts and knows how to run them. And the goal is that you know what the inputs of these scripts are, you know what the outputs of these scripts are going to be, so that you have repeated control processes, so that you can take your junior engineers who probably shouldn't have administrator rights to that database. You can give them some store procedures or some canned SQL scripts to go run and do maintenance on these databases while the databases are running, right? Or if you're cleaning files off of a system and you need to make sure that only files in certain areas get touched, you have scripts to do that so that you can hand those to your junior engineers. And that's so the big thing, those kinds of things to basically speed up time, but you're also getting consistency, so you don't have fat finger errors like I make all the time. I'm a terrible typist, but by putting automation in, once you get it nailed down, you don't worry about me fat fingering a command and screwing something up, because if I fat finger the script, it's just not going to run. So that's okay. And so the marketing team, I'll also add, wants me to mention that PagerDuty and Rundeck are really good tools for doing these things, for plugging stuff in. But honestly, this webinar is, for me, the webinar is more about an approach to automation, not about product. I want you guys to come away with some ideas and goals more than hey, I want to buy this product. But if you do want to buy the product, that's great because it helps me pay my mortgage. So the next step is to automate your automation. So you have these step-by-step scripts. So like in step 2, the human-initiated automation. In the case of Rundeck, it would be, you have automation jobs laid in a Rundeck that somebody logs in a Rundeck and hits the button and starts the automation, right? And in this third step, you're chaining tools together. You're not just running scripts out of some event engine or whatever. You're actually chaining some tools together to where you have better oversight, better ideas on things going. So in this particular case, and this is actually what we're going to demo in a few minutes, this is what we're doing is this step 3, is you actually chain your tools together to where things still might be human initiated, but you've got really good visibility into what's going on. You're making sure that these buttons are available in the right place at the right time, so that when your operators need these tools, they're available when they need them. But on top of that, you also have better visibility into what's going on, because hopefully you're using tools like an incident management or a ticket system, so that you already know what the problem is. And so you have an alert that creates a ticket, and then that ticket alerts somebody who goes and looks at this thing, who says, okay, I need to run this particular script, and you provide that button in the ticket window, right? And so the final thing on this journey is machine-initiated automation, and you always want human fallback. You always want, like, we're system operators here. We like belts with suspenders, right? We like a backup for our backups, because even our backups are going to fail sometimes, and we plan for failure. We know something's going to break, but we want to know how it's going to break and plan for how we fix it. So. And sometimes, but even then, sometimes doesn't work. So you want to always make sure that if you've got, especially emergency procedures, like we're talking about in this case, what we call it the PagerDuty and Rundeck side of things, incident management, right, or incident automation. You want to make sure that in case your automation breaks, you've got somebody available who can go log in and fix the thing. And so. In this case, your automation is initiated on fault detection. So instead of your monitoring system creating a ticket, your monitoring system may just go ahead and run automation. And if the automation fails, then you create a ticket. And the goal is instead of waiting 10, 15 minutes for somebody to receive a page, acknowledge the ticket, log into the system, realize what's going on, and then hit the button. Now the button gets hit instantly. You're talking seconds, if not microseconds. And so you take that organizing your response team, you take that entirely out of the initial part of the response, and hopefully the problem's fixed before anybody even sees an impact of it. So the goal is to get faster than human response, and you want to minimize the escalations, right? You want to resolve these situations before a human has to get involved. And of course, you want to log and track and make sure all of this stuff is available, so that you have better visibility into what's going on from the operations management type of thing. So before we go back into the actual demo part of things, and we'll go over the full environment, the full tool chain of the demo. But before that, I want to kind of take all of these concepts that we were talking about and put them together with some kind of actionable things that you can use to go take away from the webinar with ideas that you can do. So the first thing is, look and find your most repeated tasks. Go look at the things that you do all the time, that particularly interruptive tasks that you do, that force your human team to context switch. You want them to have, you want them to not, you don't want people to take people out of focus time. I know for me, I have a really bad case of ADHD. So if you pull me out of something that I'm finally gotten into a focus mode on, it's going to be hours before I can really get back into a headspace to work on that thing. and those hours turn into days because life is interrupt driven. So what you want to do is you want to find the most repeated tasks, and queue those up, right? And the second thing is collect the already existing scripts and assets that you have. Look at your monitoring system and figure out how it can do more than just trigger an alert. Whether you can send a webhook from an alert, or trigger a script that you can then chain into an API call into a different service. Things like that, right? You want to collect the already existing tools that you have in your operational toolbox, but you also want to look at the scripts that your team has written. Guarantee you that one person that does that, like that one person on your ops team that works with the DBAs, knows that some of the DBAs have some maintenance scripts that they use all the time. But you guys don't do it. You have to ask the DBAs to do that thing. Well, if you have access to those scripts and you can automate how they work by working in conjunction with the DBA team, then the DBA team are going to be your best friends because they don't have to do those things anymore. And you're using the scripts that they use in ways that they tell you are safe to do, and now they don't have to do it, right? You can chain that into whatever alert that needs to happen that cancels the stuck jobs in a message queue that relies on a database, or whatever the things that they need to do. At that point, that team are now your best friends, and are really, really good reference when the budget time comes around. So take these existing scripts, right, and put them and shove them in Rundeck, or some other ops automation platform. But Rundeck is seriously the best I've ever seen, so that you have these easy button starts, right? So put a script in Rundeck so it can run that script from the Rundeck system. It will go log into that system over there and hit the button for you on that script and manage access and all of those kinds of things. So that you can then have an easy button, so that the human initiated automation becomes easy. You have one location for all of your automation. So you log in there, and then you have a full catalog of things that you could do. Saves a lot of time in finding that stuff or logging into that system to run the script. Now you just have one central control panel to do everything. And so not only are you getting the benefit of running the script instead of manually logging into a system, but now you have one system to run the scripts from that has access to all of your systems to do everything in a controlled way. Fourth is, don't forget to tie in ticket systems and your other metrics tools for better metrics and visibility. You want to know what's going on in your network. You want to know what's going on in your environment. And if you're not already have tools that are tracking like mean time to recovery, then you want to have that so that you can show, if nothing else, that you know how much of time of your team is spent on response, incident response, as opposed to forward-looking engineering. And you want to reduce that. So the more that you tie your automation in with your metrics tooling, the better reporting that you have, so that you know how much you're improving. And by looking at those numbers, you can make better strategic calls for what's going on and what your team needs to focus on. So then finally, very, very actionable, you want to create 2 task streams. And these are basically 2 separate Kanban boards, essentially. And one of them is to consolidate and improve your scheduled tasks, the routine stuff that you do all the time, whether it's backups, end of month reporting, all of these things that your team's already doing. The once every 24 hours, go scrub some files on the server so that the disk doesn't fill up. All of these things, consolidate these, if possible, into one location and one tool, so that you don't have to go log into 30 different systems and manage 30 different cron tabs or Windows schedulers or things like that. Put them all in one place, and take a look at the things that you do have and see what you can improve. If things fail, if you've got scripts that fail on a regular basis, analyze that and figure out how they fail and fix it so that they don't fail, or that you can gracefully handle those failures. so that you can, like I put a ticket on a queue for somebody for a non-critical thing so that they can fix it in the next 24 hours when they have time, right? And then the second task stream is to automate these repeated tasks. Automate the things that you do on a regular basis, whether it's interrupt-driven incidents or user requests. And I need to provision a firewall port forwarding for these servers that I'm standing up, or hey, I need a VMware VM. Can you build one for me? Or these kinds of things. Like automate them, so that and preferably, if you can, allow the requesting users to do those things on demand instead of your team having to spend time even logging into a system to do it. Make those buttons available to your end users if you can. And so that way, again, you're eliminating a lot of this interrupt-driven stuff so that your engineers can focus on engineering and do the things that they do best instead of basically pulling support all the time. So those kind of the tips and tricks that I want you to think about as we go forward. But let's get back to the demo, right? Let's get back to our story. How does Alice actually enjoy her evening? So first, let's talk about what we're automating here and a little bit of a scenario. So basically, this the Post-it note in this diagram is the application stack that that's managing this manufacturing line, right? And it's pulling from our villain, the database. And there's a little bit of operational tooling that we have wrapped around this system. So first is we have Datadog monitoring the database and the other various systems that's going on. And then we have Datadog configured to send incidents. Basically, on an alert, it will create an incident in PagerDuty to manage, so that the ops team gets paged and knows how to deal with these incidents when they happen. And then we also have PagerDuty configured to give easy buttons essentially in the ticket itself, so that engineers can run your runbook plays directly into your environment. And we do that by using Rundeck. And so in just a moment I'll give you a tour through that workflow, and then we're actually gonna trigger the incident. So what Alice is doing, again, what she's done with her ops team is she's got monitoring and alert logic running in Datadog, notification and incident management in PagerDuty, and ops automation in Rundeck itself. So that's kind of the basis of what we're doing here. And so now let's do a live demo. When I say live demo, I'm not kidding. This is actually running equipment, and you're going to hear my phone ring in just a minute. So what I'm going to do, just to keep us from having to wait too much, is I'm going to go ahead and stop our database server so that the alert chain goes ahead and gets going. So in Datadog, this big green button is just an overall status of the environment, and we have a particular monitor here that is our database itself. We're just checking to make sure that the database is alive, and it's just basically we've got Datadog has agents running on the system, and it's literally checking to make sure that the MySQL port is open, and that it's responding to a really simple query. It's basically just select one from some table somewhere. And then in PagerDuty, what we have is this is our incident stream, and we have in integrations, I've got a custom incident action in this demo environment, which is literally just a webhook, and that's added to a button that winds up in our incident stream. So here's my phone ringing. So I'm going to answer the phone, and
PagerDuty alert. You have one triggered incident on Mainland.
So I'm going to acknowledge this incident on my phone. Okay, cool. So now our phone calls happen. We have an incident, and now it's showing up in PagerDuty. And so what I'm going to do is Alice is going to get this phone call. I'll look at this, or probably instead of a phone call, she's actually just going to get buzzed on her PagerDuty application. And the really cool thing is that this button right here, this MariaDB restart button, this button actually happens in the application. And like this is available in the phone app too. So she's having lunch with her friends. The phone buzzes. She looks at it and says, "Oh, the database died. Let me kick that database in the head." So she's going to click on that button, and now it's going to go to Rundeck. And in just a moment, you're going to see the remediation stuff start coming up in the screen right here under Notes. So Rundeck has let us know that Rundeck's beginning the remediation. We're confirming that the database is actually inactive. We're confirming that we have successfully restarted the database. We're beginning our sanity checks, and we passed the sanity checks. MariaDB is safely running, and Rundeck has resolved the incident for us. We didn't actually have to do anything. And all of the incident updates are right here. So how do we do that in Rundeck, right? So the first thing that we've done, this is our project in Rundeck with a bunch of sets of automations, and this safe database restart job is what we're talking about. So first of all, I've got a webhook handler, and that is, it's in, we just recently updated our UI, and I have lost where the webhooks go. Here it is. So this is our this is the setup here, and this is our webhook that is configured to it's configured to basically go to hand off a job, hand off the request to the safe database restart job, and we're passing in some data in the webhook. In the webhook itself, PagerDuty will basically inject everything that PagerDuty knows about that incident in a JSON document, and we're extracting the incident ID so that when we go into the actual job itself, show you what we're doing inside the automation job. When we go into the job itself, we have the PagerDuty incident ID so that we can phone back home into PagerDuty and send those incident updates and close the incident. So what we're doing is we've got a particular sequence of actions that's happening. Actions 1 through 4 are basically going to notify PagerDuty, yes, we've got the request, we're starting to work on it, and it also checks to make sure that the database is actually running or not. Because just in case there's a false alert, we don't want to restart a database that's currently running. So, so what we're doing is we're just checking the database status on our target system. Rundeck will secure shell into that system for you. We have a secure management system, secrets management system that keeps all of those secrets locked behind access control restrictions and things like that. And then we're capturing the data. We're capturing that in a log filter and creating a little variable. So we're making that variable available to later parts of the job. And this export, the later parts of the job, basically, we're creating this variable that we're doing our option checking on to see whether or not we're going to actually do the restart. And if it's down, unless the database is active, we're going to do the remediation. The remediation is start the database and then let PagerDuty know what's going on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do some sanity checking. So we're going to wait for our database port to be open. Then we're going to run a really simple sanity check of a SQL statement, which is going to be just select one from a table that's in that database, and then we're going to update PagerDuty and say, hey, yes, it did work, and we're going to close out the ticket in this very, very last statement. So one of the things to be aware of with Rundeck, real quick little project tour thing, is that in case any of these job steps fails, Rundeck's going to gracefully manage the failure. We're going to trap that particular job step, and we're going to log. We're going to basically stop the automation at that point. And so, directly in PagerDuty, your operators know what's going on by watching these checks. So, if Rundeck is beginning the remediation, but you never actually successfully restarted the database, you know that the database didn't restart successfully. Somebody's got to log in and manage that, and you can set up escalation rules in PagerDuty to deal with that. And that is actually not a relevant phone call, so I'm sending that to voicemail. But I have to have my phone ringer active during this demo. So basically, the context of what's going on for your ops engineers. So they'll know what to do, and you can also set up extra escalation rules within PagerDuty for sorting this out. And as you can see, the resolution of this thing was 1 minute. And if somebody had to manually get into the VPN, log into the box, check the status of the database, and do all that kind of stuff manually, this is 15 minutes to a half hour to 45 minutes, assuming that the engineer is actually sitting at a laptop at the moment the alert comes in. But if you're at dinner, do you have your laptop in a backpack hanging off the back of your chair? Can you tether into your phone and VPN in a reasonable amount of time, or are you going to need to go find somewhere to go put the laptop up to where you can do that? And those are the kind of things that you have to manage. So 15 minutes to 45 minutes down to 1 minute is huge, and if that happens during the day, that's really cool. So then people are not taking time out of their or much time at all out of their day to be able to manage this if it happens during the first shift. So that's basically the demo. So finally, I'll get back into present mode so that you guys have our big link. I think we're missing a .com at the run deck right there. But you can go to rundeck.com/cdemo for a deeper demo of Rundeck and probably some PagerDuty stuff in there. And that's basically that, guys. Thanks so much.
That was awesome. And I'm sure Alice is extremely happy that she's sitting at dinner and sipping away instead of having to handle all that. So good news all around.
Well, that's because she's such a good engineer.
Exactly. All right, so we got a couple questions here that we can throw your way. First one being, how can we make the cultural shift away from tickets and toward automation?
That's a cool question. So here's the thing. I don't think you really have to make a shift away from tickets toward automation. So like in this demo, basically the automation is linked to the ticket. And if you are tracking metrics, you generally want to see when incidents happen. You want to know if you don't, your mean time resolution, you're not getting that number if you don't actually log your incidents somehow. So I don't know that you actually need to move away from tickets. I think you tie your automation into your ticket workflow. If you want to decrease the number of tickets over time, one of the things you can do is classify your tickets, your incidents into various queues in whatever your ticket system is. So if you have database support queue, then you may be able to justify removing that queue over the course of 6 months to a year. If basically you wind up automating away every ticket in that queue, and now you've got a ticket that comes into the queue and it just immediately disappears because automation handles it, then you can justify removing it. But I don't know that you really have to get rid of tickets. I think you automate your existing workflow that you already have, and use those numbers and those metrics to get better reporting, and in the long run. And then only when you know that when you're 100% confident that your automation means that a human doesn't have to be involved, then you can remove then you can move away from tickets if you want to. But I think tickets are a very useful tool. I think that I think especially for things that you haven't automated yet, leave them around. And even if you are automating them, that ticket system probably gives you reporting and numbers that you wouldn't easily have if you didn't have a way to do that. So if you want to move away from tickets, make sure that you have BI tools, business intelligence visibility tools in your operational tool chain, so that you can get good reporting on how the automation is working anyway.
Excellent points. Okay, so how do you keep automation tasks from becoming a security risk?
That one can be touchy. So like Rundeck, as an example, In order to do what Rundeck does, Rundeck itself has to be able to log in to all of these various systems across your network. So I think there's a bunch of strategies that you can implement. First thing is by minimizing your exposure of risk by doing things like using a secrets management system that rotates keys. Right, you can implement that across your entire network so that you have secure shell keys that live for 24 hours, 1 hour, 5 minutes, whatever that is, and you can tie Rundeck into that secrets management system so that so that if Rundeck is compromised and the secrets are exposed, they get rotated out pretty quickly. You want to have good monitoring. You want to have good access monitoring. Make sure that the only people logging into your systems are the people that need to be logging into your systems. For Rundeck itself, use an OpenID Connect integrated system so that you can do two-factor authentication to minimize the risk that user passwords are being leaked, because if the password gets leaked and they don't have the second factor, the attacker is going to have a much harder time getting in. Things like that. Make sure that when you're doing your automation, when you're actually writing your jobs in Rundeck or whatever tool that you're using, audit those. Don't expose security credentials and the output of those things. Your automation is necessarily going to need to log into a system and do a thing, but make sure that you protect those credentials. And it's not really any different than the security risk that you would do in a human system, except that you do have you do have kind of a single central, at least in the example of Rundeck, a single central system that can log into your network, all of your assets. So you need to make sure that you do put some engineering in place to protect that for sure. And again, I think rotating passwords and hardening your systems in general, normal security best practices is a really good start. And beyond that, look into security key rotation and if you really need to, you can do things like trusting trusted certificates between like client server. When you're logging into these systems as well, that gets a little bit harder to set up, but that's another thing you can do.
All right, fantastic. All right, folks. Well, thank you so very much, Keith, for that amazing presentation and the super slick demo. That was really awesome. And congratulations, Alice. You got to have an awesome night out and still fix the database. So props to you. All right. So just a reminder, folks, the session has been recorded. So if you missed any or all of it, feel free to go back and watch it again. We'll send you all an email with instructions for accessing it on demand, or you can always visit us at devops.com/webinars. It's there for you as well. If you haven't had a chance, go ahead and grab those slides from the handouts tab. You can download those and look over them at your leisure. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do our drawing for 4 $25 Amazon gift cards. And our first winner today is Ricardo M. Congratulations, Ricardo. Our next winner is Hugo O. Congratulations to Hugo. Next, we have Joe C. Congratulations to Joe. And finally, Horatio B. Congratulations to all our Amazon winners. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will send you an email with instructions for claiming your gift card, so keep an eye on your inbox for that. And if you don't see it there, make sure and check your spam folders. Thanks again so much, Keith, for taking the time and showing us this great demo. And thank you so much to the audience for spending your time with us today. We hope we get to see you again at another webinar very soon. With that, I'm Sharon Florentine signing off.